psychological terms. Would I miss the color blue or green? Would I learn to appreciate a melange of red and orange hues in a way I never could have on Earth? Would I find, in time, that the rocks could soothe me in a way plants and animals once had? Or was I a product of my home planet? Could I even bear to stay in one place when I'd once been a vagabond? When I was asked to stay home, I lived in a city I was familiar with, Seattle, in an apartment with an ICU nurse. I joked with her that this would be good practice for Mars. I also joked that I was going to lock her in the apartment to complete the immersion. Luckily, she has a great sense of humor. At first, people acted as though this would only be a few weeks. For once, I had clear foresight. It would be much longer, maybe even through summer. I had things relatively easy. Mostly, I was worried about my roommate. Her colleagues were calling her crying. No one had PPE. My only trick was that I needed to move. At the end of April, amid strict lockdown orders, at the predicted crux of infection in Seattle. In the meantime, I had coping mechanisms. What to do if you lose internet for weeks during stay-home orders. Writing down concerns and hypothetical, kind, intelligent friend responses. True fact, good trick. And I knew to keep up what habits I could, and that without evidence to the contrary, like social interactions, humans tend to think the worst under stress. I would go outside daily, exercise daily. I took breakfast on the patio and looked out at the mountains. You can't sit out like this on Mars, I thought. The sunrise won't look anything like this. There will be no lake. Each day, I went for a long walk miles through the city in a different direction each time. This was mostly enjoyable. Seattle has incredible gardens in the spring, and I had been learning about foraging. I got a little sad once, finding a nice dive bar near my home that would have been perfect for a send-off. More so when I walked down to an almost empty waterfront. I needed to take 2 trips because no one could safely help me move things, and I had a lot of plants. Nice, soothing, green plants of Earth. Easy. All I need to do was drive 20 hours by myself, 3 times, in a car with no air conditioning. Here you'll note the many sites along my route. You may be wondering, why is the small town of Roseburg, Oregon marked with a small house beside it? Well, that's because that's where my car broke down and I decided I would live out the rest of my days. The Taco Time employee very kindly helped me push my car out of the way of the drive-through speaker as the line of Pacific Northwest drivers who would never dare honk accumulated behind me. I had planned to stay in a boondock in the National Forest near Shasta that night. I was afraid to stay in a hotel, so I wandered along the river in town until I gave up and got a room. Unfortunately, a delay in the heat meant my little green friends fried in the car. I was now in a new apartment alone. My cousins and I formed a COVID pod, but one came down with it immediately after helping me. The cousin does not die at this moment. You seem nervous, so I thought I would tell you. Now living in our orange new Earth, I continue to walk through my Mars analog, walking almost daily past the greenhouses, imagining that they're part of the Martian facilities in the unnerving stillness of dust and silence, based on a real picture. The end.
That was awesome.